First of all, thanks to the party members who've already spoken this morning. I'll reiterate some of their main points and talk about a little about the alternatives that we believe in. Before I start, I have to address an error that was reported regarding last week's session regarding a leaked document that was between our party's press advisor and myself. It's true that there was a document leaked, but she wasn't the source of that leak. And I have absolutely unwavering confidence in Violetta, and she's obviously vital to the success of the party. And nothing you could possibly dig up on her would compromise her ability to serve me, the party, and indeed the country. All right, now we've got that out of the way. Good morning, everyone, and my sincere thanks for your patience. First of all, I'll offer a heartfelt apology to the press and to Ms. Pierce in regard to the unfortunate circumstances last Monday, which ultimately made it impossible for me to be here. But let me say it's a pleasure and a privilege to be able to speak to you today. I think we all recognise that these are interesting political times for Incognita, with uncertainty a factor in both sides of politics, allegations of disharmony within the major parties, and intense debate surrounding policy, not to mention particularly, I think, a bloodthirsty media commentating from the sidelines. An onlooker from outside Incognita might be forgiven for thinking that we've only been in politics for a couple of weeks. But those kinds of issues aren't really what today's about, and I want to talk about the real issues that have real bearings on the future of our nation. And what I believe and what POLO believes is that our future depends on the security of our citizens and our soil, a robust economy, and infrastructure that supports our population and allows us to basically keep on keeping on. Ms. Pierce and her government are selling controversial new policies on the grounds that they prepare Incognita for the future. Even to me, those are grand words that seem to promise a lot, but as we've heard highlighted this morning, they deliver very little. The Prime Minister is right when she describes her proposals as radical measures. But what she neglects to tell you is that at the forefront of any technology, significant risks emerge. Early adapters, that's what the IT industry sometimes calls the people who are first to start using a new technology. They're essentially guinea pigs who find the weaknesses in a new system or a new product. They find out its limits, and then when that product's improved upon 6 months later or a year later, we get version 2. Incognita, rather, should not be the proverbial guinea pig for innovations such as the government's proposed wireless city or the citizen ID card. Now, the government assures us that no final decisions will be made until the security of both these technologies can be guaranteed. The fact is that the government cannot and will not guarantee you the security of these innovations. It's impossible to do so. But just stepping aside from that overarching fact for a minute, let me continue to expose these policies for what they actually are. And the Shadow Ministers this morning have already spoken a little bit about this. In particular, the Citizen ID card, a card like your licence or bank card, except that it's a link to all the information that the various government bodies, agencies have ever had on you. The government's telling you that this consolidated card will reduce bureaucracy, save the government millions of dollars, billions even. But that sounds like this is a card that's for their benefit, not yours. It's inspiring that we live in an age that makes things like this proposed card possible, but we need to carefully consider and balance convenience with security. The POLO party believes that the Citizen ID card offers convenience, but at a detrimental effect to security of citizens and of the nation. The following are the things that the government says are guaranteed to be included on the card. It's health information, insurance, licensing, emergency contacts, tax details, your voting details and history, your social security information, and your residential status. Ms. Fierce's coded levels of access, which she says will, for example, reveal only police information to the police force, will do little to address the security concerns, because the real cache of information, the real jackpot, isn't with the card, but it's with the database. If you talk to any reputable investor, person that works with money, and they'll tell you that there's security in diversifying, i.e. we don't put all our eggs in one basket. With the government's proposed ID card, the government is proposing to put all of our eggs in the one basket. It only takes one security breach of that basket or that database for everyone's information to be compromised. Now, some of the other ministers last week touted the benefits of the card, like reduced paper use, plastic usage. Those are admirable goals of the government. But introducing this card, this uncosted card, I might add, and more on that in a moment, it will have a virtually insignificant impact on those environmental areas. Excuse me. Ladies and gentlemen, the Treasurer, Mr. Bezler, last week predicted large savings in administration costs for the government as a result of the introduction of this card and the eradication of inefficient social services. Those are his words, not mine. You know, like registering the family card. Now, I welcome the fact that someone in the government has finally admitted that social services incognita are cumbersome and in need of some overhauling. But the proposed card is an expensive and uneconomical way to go about that. He also claimed that in the UK, up to £1 billion were saved because of the introduction of the card. And as the Shadow Minister said this morning, Mr. Treasurer, that's an impressive figure, but you've not really told us over what amount of time the savings were made, or how indeed how much it will cost to quote-unquote save that money. And we're looking at figures in excess of $30 billion to implement the card. $30 billion. So while we're talking about wasting money this morning, let me briefly address the wildest city proposed for South Incognita. The Minister for Arts, Education, Tourism and Other sectors last week expounded the virtues of this expense. There's a lot of talking up the back. Oh, sorry. I was just talking about how your party possibly is wasting money. As I said earlier, it's an inspiring age that we live in, and it's true that there will be some advantages to education and tourism and things like that with a wireless city. We should be excited about what technology can provide to our citizens in the coming years and decades. But hasn't the internet already been well established? Aren't tens of thousands of citizens wirelessly connected right now, right outside the building, across the street, in coffee shops, campuses, businesses and homes, just a short walk from here? There are people online, probably some of you online right now, possibly that guy up the back. The government's proposed wireless city, QR tags and the related QR readers are a duplication of already existing wireless media infrastructure, and they wish to build that on the taxpayer dollar. And if that's not enough, then they want to charge you for the privilege of using it. Ms. Fierce claims it'll be a very small fee, but we all wonder, Ms. Fierce, just how small that fee will be. The Wireless City is another pilot program for which we will be the guinea pig. Their claims that artists and tourists will flock to South Incognita to use the system are fanciful at best, since those kinds of people are probably already using comparable technology right now wherever else they might be. Yes, our education sector needs money. Encouraging tourism is good. We need to conserve resources. We need to look after our economy. POLO believes that the staggering amounts of money that will need to be spent on the wireless city and the citizen ID card could be put to better use in these and other sectors through countless smaller projects. Members of the media have picked up on a rumour that we might be proposing an upgraded hospital for South Incognita. That's not strictly true, but some of the ministers have been gathering preliminary costings for such a project and other similar projects, just as a way of demonstrating to the country how much better this amount of money could be spent. These are things everyday citizens depend on: quality hospitals, schools, efficient, reliable public transport. These are the things that will really make South Incognita and the rest of the country a desirable place to live. In the coming weeks, the parliamentary party ministers will be presenting costings for various projects like this, which POLO believes will deliver true, tangible benefits to the citizens across Incognita in the coming months and years, not in the coming years, decades and millennia. We haven't heard much about these forthcoming proposals this morning. The Shadow Ministers chose instead to directly respond to the ULP Party's proposals. But when those details are presented, we'll see plans that truly, and to quote the words of the Federal Treasurer, economically and culturally benefit Incognita in the long run. And since I'm probably over time here, I'll make that the key phrase that I end on. The long run is my final point. Ms Fierce and Mr Besler and the rest of the party, they really have no fixed time for when these so-called investments they propose will start reaping returns for the taxpayer. That's the point I'd like to leave you on. They've given us this idea, but they haven't really given us any indication of where it's going to end up. Again, ladies and gentlemen, I apologise for my unavoidable absence last week. I thank you for your attention this morning. And that's all.